Hello, hello, hello. I think we are all good to go. Can I just get a double check from all you guys?
Hello.
Oh, hello.
Howdy, howdy.
Excellent. I think we're ready to start. Hello and welcome to Next to Nothing, a podcast for gamers on a budget. I am your host, Danny K. With me, as always, the wonderful, the beautiful, the birthday boy, Mr. Green Elite. How you doing, Mr. Green Elite?
Oh, stop it, you. I'm doing good. I'm away from home. I'm actually in Minnesota right now, due to an unrelated thing, not my birthday. But I'm doing pretty good. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. I am ready to kill it today. With us as well is our other wonderful, beautiful, beardiful, we're going to call him beardiful co-host, Mr. Revspen Padre. How are you doing today?
Could be better. This internet needs to stop being stupid, but I was laughing really hard at this picture of Seth Rogen that you've got for Green going on here.
Yeah, it's just kind of peeking out between the blinds almost. That's kind of what I was going for there. Well, and I just want to real quick suss this out that Green Elite needs to stop giving us his bad internet juju. Okay? It seems like everyone you touch, you give the bad internet juju.
Yeah,
sharing is caring.
Please don't touch me. I don't want it. I finally have good internet. I don't need that in my life anymore.
So our guest this week is a longtime friend of mine, Mickerayla. How are you doing?
I'm good. I am doing well.
So
I am detilted, so we're all okay.
Yes, I was watching your stream earlier. You were very, very tilted.
Oh my god.
Go on ahead. It's been a while since you've been on the show. Go on ahead and tell the folks who don't know who you are, what you do, and where people can find you, and all the other services you offer.
All the other Oh god, that sounds oddly interesting.
Yeah.
Anyway, hello. My name is Mickerayla, or you can call me Michaela. I don't care if people know my name. I am a variety streamer. I stream at twitch.tv/Mickerayla, spelled Mickerayla. But yeah, what do? I don't do anything. I fucking lost my job. So now I just stream my days away. But yeah, if you want to find me on literally any social media, I use Mickerayla for literally everything. So use that. If I'm there, you'll find me. If I'm not there, you won't find me. So
Excellent. And you do offer some services, though.
I do offer some services. I offer sass and screaming sometimes. I don't.
Okay,
know
so
what
she's not going to plug herself with
No.
the video editing?
No, I don't. I do video editing. I feel weird plugging myself. I don't know what you want from me, but I do video editing. So if you want some videos edited, I do that. I can do some motion graphics if that's something you're interested in, some still graphics if that's something you're interested in, maybe some animation. If it happens in the Adobe Suite, I can do it. So hit me up.
There we go. Now we got the
Ayla.
Can you make me popular on YouTube?
Let me make me popular on YouTube first, then I got you.
So guys, go check out Mickerayla on all of her socials, and if you are in need of any services, go on ahead and hit her. Well, let me rephrase that. If you're in need of any media services, go on ahead and hit her up.
I don't do any of those other services.
Well, yeah, she won't come and do your plumbing or do your electrical.
No, I don't know. I'll set your house on fire or flood it. Flooded my own bathroom once. So
we're gonna move on from that. There's a couple of things that I wanted to talk about before the show starts. First off, we want to say that we appreciate you guys for watching and listening, and we really hope you guys get some value out of the show. I mentioned last week was our or like 2 weeks ago was our 100th episode. This month is actually our 2-year anniversary month. The show started in July 2018. So we have some things that we want to celebrate to you guys with. That first one being a contest for some free games here. So if you guys are interested in getting a free game, we're actually giving away 2 games every show in the month of July. So the first way to enter is by going to our live Twitch stream and entering in the keyword Swiggity this week, and you'll be automatically entered to win a game at the end of the show. The other way to win is by going to the YouTube channel and answering this question. What is one style of game you wish you could like? Go on ahead and answer that question in the comments of this YouTube video, and you'll get entered to win a free game. You guys can enter more than once, and at the end of this month, we will be giving away a $20 Steam gift card for you guys to check, or for you guys to get. And you can enter that more than once too. You can enter twice per week for a chance to win that $20 Steam gift card. So go on ahead, get entered, follow all of us on our Twitch channels and all of our other things to keep up with on all the ways to win. We're also doing merch this month. It is a limited time merch design. It will be available only until August 4th. Then it will be gone forever. It is on Teespring. Let me put the link in the Twitch chat right there. It's shirts, mugs, face masks, tote bags, and they're all available at that link. Check the link in the description of this episode for the limited time merch. One last thing is, of course, if you guys miss any part of the live show, you guys can find us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and everywhere podcasts are found. And without further delay, let's just jump into this episode, which I'm going to start with a review of Pokemon Cafe. Did you guys see when this was announced at all?
I did, and me and you had talked about it briefly, but I never got a chance to play it myself.
I don't even know if I know what it is.
That would not surprise me because it kind of flew under the radar.
Oh.
So there was like a Pokemon Connect like a week ago, where they announced Pokemon Unite, which is a Pokemon MOBA.
Yes, I remember that.
This game was also announced and it was released.
Oh, damn.
Yes. So, Pokemon Cafe Mix is a game published by Nintendo and the Pokemon Company, developed by Genius Sonority? It's a free-to-play puzzle game for the Switch, Android, and iOS devices, and it was released on June 23rd. The basic premise of this game is that you own a cafe, and with your Pokemon friends, you serve other Pokemon food and beverages by solving puzzles. That's a little bit of a twist on the classic Match 3 puzzle format.
Ooh.
The puzzle, usually what the puzzles do is they load up and you have 3 or 4 icons of particular Pokemon. Squirtle, Charmander, Munchlax, Togepi, and a few others. One of the icons will be like whatever Pokemon you select to do the job, right? So if you select a Charmander to make some tea, you are guaranteed to have Charmander icons in the puzzle. There are other items called gimmicks. They can be items like sugar cubes, whipped cream dollops, tomatoes, and what I assume are like hazelnuts. And so how you complete the puzzles, you take the Pokemon icons and you drag them across the screen to creating a chain, and then that can be used to guide other icons or gimmicks into place. And once you either release the icons with your finger or hit a timer, because you can only have it for like 15 seconds, I think, they will pop and they will clear, and then more icons will fall from the top of the screen. And so like some of the gimmicks like the sugar cubes need to be cleared by popping the icons around them. The whipped cream dollops are kind of like the same, but the whipped cream dollops will like move around. The sugar cubes are like solid; they're stagnant.
Gotcha.
And then other ones require like the hazelnut gimmick requires you to use a power up to break it. And then the tomatoes are affected by gravity, and so you have to kind of guide them into a basket on the bottom of the screen.
Okay. Damn,
Um,
I'm gonna have to download this.
yeah, for a puzzle game, it's kind of complex, and there's a couple different power ups.
Mhm.
Some of them you get based on like your score, so you get a chain, you 30 plus chain or whatever, and this will just kind of drop in with the rest of them. And it'll clear out like a certain direction for like a few gimmicks or whatever. They kind of have limited uses and they count towards your moves. And then on the side you have more power-ups. One will clear out an entire vertical section, the other will clear out an entire horizontal section of the puzzle map. And then another one will change one icon set to whatever your Pokemon is.
Oh.
So if it's like Charmander, Munchlax, Pikachu, and Squirtle on the puzzle map, and you have Charmander, if you select the Munchlax, all the Munchlax icons are going to turn into the Charmander.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, so I mean that's the basic gameplay of it. Do you guys have any questions on the gameplay? Like anything that needs clarified there?
I have no questions, but I will make the comment that it has. I don't know if you ever played the Disney Tsum Tsum games.
No.
It has a very, very similar feel. You've probably seen these Tsum Tsum things if you've ever just walked by a Disney store. They're like the little plushies that they almost look like hot dogs, but with like Disney characters' faces. They're really weird looking, but there's like a whole puzzle game about them, and the gameplay and the style and everything looks very similar.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have gameplay on the screen right now for folks who are interested in looking at it. The game has like you're talking kind of like the aesthetics. It's almost like a children's book oil pastel-ish aesthetic in my eyes. It's very soft, very like subtly shaded. Yeah, it's pretty subdued. Very, like I said, like the best way I could describe it is like children's book.
Sure. Yeah, no, I see that. I really like that style too, so it's really cool.
It also has really nice music. It's very calm. Which to me almost it can be the absolute worst trash game that they have put out for Pokemon. It still has really good music.
Right.
That's just like one thing it's always consistent with Pokemon properties is that it's always got nice music. So but that's not enough to really save it necessarily. Right. It's actually not a terrible game, but it is a kind of a frustrating experience. Right. Kind of by design, I think, because the puzzles can be frustrating. I think the most frustrating part about it is that it immediately kind of starts getting you for the cash grabby stuff. So the power-ups that are on your on the side, the three power-ups like changing icons, clearing out vertical slices or horizontal slices, you have to purchase those with in-game money. And it's not very generous with in-game money. Sure. I think they're just golden apricorns is what they call them.
Right.
And they already have like several item packs available that will give you, golden apricorns. So that's one of the infuriating things. It's like, okay, wow, I ran, it wasn't very clear that if you ran out of those power-ups, that you are going to have to purchase them essentially with in-game currency. It wasn't super clear. Maybe I missed that memo. That's entirely possible.
Sure.
But I felt like it wasn't very clear. Let's see.
So do you need those power-ups to like progress in the game, or could you get by without it?
I think you can get by without them. I don't think it's totally pay to win.
Okay.
But there are certainly times that it feels
It'd
like
be
it's almost
helpful.
required. Yeah, it'd be
Sure.
almost required.
Sure.
In the microtransactions that are built into the game, they range from $2 USD to $8 USD right now.
Okay.
And those, I mean, they give you some other things in there, like, excuse me, like different power ups and whatever else in there, and like, I think there's even like some cosmetics.
Okay.
So, I mean, it's not like it's super expensive. It just kind of seems like they get it on you really quickly.
Sure. Sure.
I'm about 30 puzzles into it right now, and I'm just kind of bored with it. Like, after I kind of hit those 30 puzzles, I have a hard time wanting to open up the app.
Sure.
It's right next to my Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Links app on my screen, and I
Me-
almost always go for that more. I'm like, okay,
Sure,
I got
sure.
like a few minutes at work, or I'm sitting on the toilet or something,
Mhm.
This would be a good toilet game for sure, or a
Ooh.
good commute game. Like,
Sure.
I'm on the bus or I'm on the train.
Mhm.
I would say this is probably a good one to if you're looking for another commuter game. This would be a good one. I like the little bit of a twist on the match 3 puzzle game.
Mhm.
But I don't see it as like super unique.
Sure.
I don't know. It just doesn't have much else for me. I kind of
Sure.
got my entertainment out of those 30 puzzles, and I'm just kind of like, eh.
Right.
That's about really all I got for it.
Mhm.
What about you guys? Any questions? Any thoughts? Opinions you want to share?
I'm sitting here actually like tinkering with it as we speak, kind of getting a feel for it, and it feels like it's going to be just like a typical kind of Candy Crush, style game where it like people who are into those kind of games will continue to come back for it, but
Right.
like for me, I'll get a few levels in and I'll probably be done as well.
Yeah.
Sure. It's not like to bring in new puzzle players. It's more like, hey, we see you like this kind of game. Here's another one.
Yeah. Here's your Pokemon themed puzzle game.
Yeah. Oh my god. So many choices. It's one game.
Yeah. Mr. Greenleaf.
I have no interest in it. It looks like a cash grab to me. More than
Yeah.
anything.
I will say, more than other Pokemon games, this feels hollow. Like, more than some of the other properties that are out there, it feels more hollow. It feels more hollow than Pokemon Go. Pokemon Go, to me, what is one of the worst examples of a Pokemon game. And the other one, the Pokemon Masters, that I know we reviewed, that we talked about, felt even more hollow than that, and so it just kind of keeps going down. I'm curious to see where Pokemon Unite's going to be, if there's more depth to that. If I mean, it's a Pokemon MOBA developed by Tencent, so whatever that's going to look like, and whatever that's going to feel like, and however, what kind of heart and soul that game has, we'll see. But this one, yeah, it just kind of felt hollow. It's cutesy, but it's more, to kind of keep with the cafe or food theme here. It felt more like whipped cream on a cupcake than the cupcake itself, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so that's really about it for Pokemon Cafe. Anything else that we wanted to talk about on this one? Any thoughts, opinions, feelings, questions, clarifications needed?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Please explain to me why there's only 151 Pokemon.
All right, look, you're wrong about several things in life. Ride chips and Pokemon are those things that you're wrong on.
That is false.
There is more than 151 Pokemon, and ride chips are delicious. You can suck a dick.
Can confirm.
All right. We should probably go on to Padre. You have a review that you would like to talk about.
Oh, yes, I do. All right. So as many people that have been following me for a while, or even following the show, know, I'm a huge fan of the game Not for Broadcast. Um, I was originally given the opportunity to stream it early due to a kind of a sponsored deal with Tiny Build, and they recently released a free bonus chapter because it's being released in chapters, and of course, as of right now, chapter 1's out, and with it being an FMV style game, with the current COVID situation and lockdowns, they were not able to continue filming chapter 2 yet, but they still wanted to continue putting stuff out there for the fans. So what they ended up doing was filming a lockdown chapter where everybody that was going to be a part of it essentially filmed parts from their own house. Now, without going in and spoiling the storyline, it may be a bonus chapter, but it does pick up right where chapter 1 left off, and as far as I can tell, will not affect the actual storyline moving forward. Do with that information what you will, but I will say, one, I've got to give like a big shout out to Not Games for actually taking the time to do something they had zero obligation to do by putting all of their workers to work from home for free or to put a product out for free just to kind of keep giving content to the fans. And it was just as hysterical, if not funnier, than chapter 1. It was shorter. It wasn't as long as the original chapter, but it was really, I don't know. It's just really cool to see a game studio do something like that. Like say, hey, we care about the people that love this game, and it could have possibly been out of a sense of trying to remain relevant and not lose people. Quite possibly, wouldn't be surprising. But at the same time, it's something they did. They had zero obligation to do, to make something to give to people for free just because they like the game. It kind of followed the same gameplay as the first one. You know, you're switching between your camera angles, trying to maintain audience interest, playing your advertisements. But if you remember in episode 1, for those of you who did watch, there was this little creature called the Mr. Snugglehugs, which looked oddly like a Furby, but slightly more terrifying. And you come to find out that they had what was called a lithium ion battery, and it exploded and lodged an eye into a child's cheek. And it was, as tragic as it was still hilarious. Well, they, the Mrs. Snugglehugs are coming for you in this one. Like that's like kind of the basis of the whole thing and why the lockdown even exists. Is the companion to the Mr. Snugglehugs has taken over England essentially, and they added a couple of new elements where you have to monitor your broadcast tower and send electric shocks up it to keep these stupid teddy bear things from destroying your broadcast. And eventually one of them breaks in and keeps messing with your switches and all kinds of crap, making it harder to be able to retain your audience interest. And so you're sitting there like smacking this stupid stuffed animal around, trying to keep it from flipping your switches and turning on your phone and muting the mics. And it was just it was a nightmare, but in the funniest way possible. And of course, like with the original broadcast or the original chapter, you're able to go back and watch your broadcast uninterrupted to see how your broadcast looked to the viewers. And I gotta say, it was hilarious. It was a lot of fun. It was well done. The writing for it was really good, and the acting for it was amazing. If you have Not for Broadcast already and you haven't played the Lockdown chapter, get on it. And if you haven't played either of them yet, I highly recommend getting it. It's such a fun game. And there's actually apparently like several variations of everything in this chapter. Like just a one or two different little decisions can actually change a tremendous amount of content in it. So I'm actually going to go back through and do some replays on it off stream and try to see what I can find and maybe put them all up on YouTube or something later. But it was a ton of fun, and I highly recommend it.
Awesome. So with this one, they added some mechanics and stuff like that. Do you think there are going to be any more mechanical changes to the next chapter then, or do you think it's going to be fairly similar?
I think they're probably going to end up adding more, just because it did. Like I felt, originally the game had its own fair set of challenges, but adding this to it didn't oversaturate the challenging aspect of it and made it a lot more like hectic, but still really fun. I did also notice, I haven't tried this out yet, but with the update, they added challenge and free play modes where you can go in and just make broadcasts out of whatever. Like, you don't have to worry about audience interest, where it's like, if you forget to censor a cuss word, your audience drops and eventually you fail. Well, in the free play mode, you don't have to worry about that. So you can play all of the goofy cuss words and everything in full playthrough and just save the videos. I do hope they add some more mechanics to it, because that was fun. They were very creative with it. And so with that level of imagination behind the increase and changes in the challenges, it seems like it would be a lot of fun to have them continue down that path.
Excellent. So with that, do you feel like this was a good bridge to episode 2? Do you feel like it maybe it might deviate too much? What do you think on terms of the story?
So in the end, like I said, I won't divulge too much information, but in the end, it will not necessarily affect the story at all, but it plays in perfectly. Like, it plays into it. It's not gonna kind of divert your attention away from the main story. It's not gonna do anything like that. It was just like a fun little throw in there to kind of keep people going during this whole lockdown thing. And and they actually kind of like politically, satirized the whole thing with the lockdown and whatnot. It was really interesting, actually, to look at it from almost like a political standpoint, because they actually actively advertise this as a political propaganda simulator. And so for them the way they played it into the kind of the current state of things was really interesting, and I really liked it. But I don't think it's gonna divulge your interest away from your interest away from the main story in the long run. Whenever episode 2 gets ready to come out, I'm sure they don't have to make any rewrites or anything like that. So whatever work they've already done will still be ready to go.
Cool. So it's not like the non-canonical Dragon Ball Z movies. This will fit in well. This, you don't need to worry about how this is going to affect the story. Awesome. Mickerayla, any thoughts, questions, opinions on what we just talked about?
I have never heard of this game before, but just the way you described it makes me definitely want to check it out. Like, it looks like something that's right up my alley, especially like I love games where the decisions you make have an outcome on the rest of the story. So I'm definitely going to have to check it out.
Yeah, and that's actually something that I come to find out. The decisions you make in chapter 1 can actually carry over and alter the lockdown chapter. And so I thought that was actually really interesting. And it does, like, there are a lot of decisions that are made throughout chapter 1 that you undoubtedly know will affect the story as it continues on. And
Sure.
I'm really looking forward to seeing what it does. And like, a lot of people aren't big into political stuff or anything like that, but even people who aren't actively involved in political stuff can get a lot of enjoyment out of it. And it's interesting because you don't see a lot of games done with the FMV style anymore, where you actually get live actors filming actual bits. And honestly, if it's a game that anybody, in all honesty, is interested in, I highly recommend checking out their Steam page before even buying the game, because they have some really interesting behind the scenes, like blooper reels and developer diaries and stuff like that show like them filming these different segments. It's a really cool thing. And don't worry, most people have not heard of most of the games that I end up talking about on this show. I've been called a gaming hipster, as it were.
Oh,
yes. So I'm actually really curious because I want to see Mickerayla play this, because she, like me, has broadcast experience.
Yeah, I was thinking about that too. I was like, maybe I shouldn't play this because this will bring back the suppressed memories of college courses. But
I'm actually pretty sure that's exactly what Danie said while I was playing it, and he watched. He was like, "Oh my god, I don't know if I could do this."
Like, my brain, not that I even did TV broadcast, I did radio broadcast, which was very different. But I'm like, oh yeah, I don't want to like relive those memories of sitting in a control room for like 2, 3, 5 hours by myself, really hoping that something doesn't go wrong.
No, I took a TV course, and so like we did live broadcasts on the campus news station, and it was terrifying. I didn't like it.
Oh yeah, it's really fun. For anybody who hasn't seen it, like basically your whole role, you got your 2 TVs set side by side, your one that's actual live, and then the feed that's going to be put out. You get that like 2-second delay to censor cuss words and
Right.
switch camera angles and everything. And then there's like a little interference, because if you look at it, the whole aesthetic looks almost like 80s ish, because all the
Yeah.
TVs are like CRT style and everything. And so whenever you're sitting there, there's a little interference wheel on the side that, like, if you hear the little siren go off, you got to try to avoid the interference with your little scroll wheel while still trying to edit and everything. And it ends up becoming pretty difficult, but it makes for really funny broadcasts after, because like you hear like you're trying to beep out a cuss word, you miss the cuss word, you beep the word after, and it was just it's such an enjoyable time.
Sure. No, I'll definitely have to check it out. I wrote it down on a napkin that I have, so
That's how you know it's serious. There's a napkin
know.
involved.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Mr. Green, thoughts, questions, opinions, feelings?
No, he explained it really well. I've been looking to play this game. I just haven't had a chance to actually pick it up.
Yeah. I'm kind of in the same boat. I'm kind of like in that. Oh yeah, I keep forgetting to pick that game up. It might end up being one of those ones where I forget to. If I do pick it up, I forget to play it anyways.
Yeah. I have a library full of those games.
Yeah, I got a bit of a backlog. Just got a little bit of a backlog. So when are they planning on putting out episode 2? Do they know yet? Do they know when they can get production back on schedule, or
Well, it's all gonna depend on when they can kind of get back to work over there in the UK, because that's what's really putting this whole on hold right now, is that everybody's still kind of like social distancing and everything over there. I know that they're trying to get back to it as quick as possible, because they had quite a bit of episode 2 ready, but there are still some segments that have to be filmed like in person. So hopefully soon. I haven't seen anything yet come through on updates on when they're going to get episode 2 rolling, but I really hope it is soon. But at the same time, you can't really be mad. You got to understand, you kind of understand, with given like their style of game with FMV stuff, it's going to be incredibly difficult.
yeah.
But as soon as I get any of that information, I'll pass it along, that's for sure.
Yeah, it sucks that they've been delayed for so long on it because of the global health crisis we are currently experiencing. So best of luck to them. Was there anything else that we wanted to talk about in terms of this game at all?
No, I would just say, like I said, if it's something that interests you, just like the idea of it being, kind of what it is, I would highly recommend. It's actually on, like, not for broadcast itself, is on sale for the next 40 hours and 25 minutes for half off. So you can get chapter 1 and the bonus chapter. So that is currently available.
Awesome. That is a pretty good deal. Go snag that if you guys are interested in this game. Anything else on this, guys?
That's all I had.
All right. I think we're going to go on ahead and take a break and then come back with some news and some conversations. So stay right there. We'll be back in 2 minutes. It's July, and that means we've officially hit 2 years as a podcast. And this month, we've got something very special for you all. First off, for you guys, we have a Steam Key giveaway all month long. Join us live on Twitch and use a keyword in chat to get entered, or answer our weekly question in the comments of the YouTube video. Not only that, but everyone who enters will also be entered for a grand prize drawing of a $20 Steam gift card. The more times you enter, the higher chance you have of winning. Not only that, but this month we have limited time merch available on Teespring. An exclusive 2-year anniversary design on t-shirts, mugs, and tote bags. Get yours before August 4th. Thanks for all the love and support over these 2 years, and thank you for listening. All right, and we are back from break. Just a reminder, if you guys are interested in winning a free game, which today's stream, it is Brutal Legend, right, Green?
Yes.
Such a good game.
Do ! Swiggity to get entered here in the live chat. And if you're watching the YouTube video, make sure that you guys comment on the channel or on the video and answer this week's question, which is, what style of game do you wish you could get into? We have some pretty major news that we should talk about here as a podcast, and that is Lootboxes versus the United Kingdom.
This time it's personal again.
Lootboxes 2, Electric Boogaloo. So this is straight from the BBC. No, not the other one, you pervs. This is the authority in all things British. The House of Lords has said that the loot boxes in video games should be classified under the, quote, games of chance, which would put them under the jurisdiction of the UK's 2005 Gambling Act. In their report, they justify the stance by saying, quote, if a product looks like gambling and feels like gambling, it should be regulated as gambling.
If it walks like a duck.
If it smells like shit, it is shit.
It's a bit nutty.
Yes, they also called for immediate regulation in a later quote in the report saying, quote, the government must act immediately to bring loot boxes within the remit of gambling legislation and regulation. They also specifically told ministers that they should make new regulations which explicitly state the loot boxes are games of chance, which this is a huge part of the discussion that we've been having for years now, which is, do they constitute gambling because they don't legally fit whatever definition for those countries? This basically solves that by saying in the UK by saying it doesn't matter what our past laws say, we're going to amend it and we're going to say it is gambling, is essentially what's happening here. I also want to say I'm not an authority on British politics. I'm barely an authority on American politics. And by barely, I mean I'm not at all. So I don't know necessarily what all the powers of the House of Lords are. I know that it's not like the House of the Commons where they actually write and enforce legislation. It's more of almost advisory. But I'm sure some of our British friends can clarify that. I'm sure Mello online is just banging his head on a wall right now, being like, no, that's not it at all. I'm sure there's more parliamentary bullshit that goes along with it, but I digress. There's a chairman on the committee for gambling. His name is Lord Grade, and he told the BBC that the Gambling Act is, quote, way behind what was actually happening in the market. He also said that the overwhelming majority of the recommendations by the House of Lords could be enacted without further legislation. They took in from a lot of resources on this, including academic research, and they said that there is academic research which proves that there is a connection, though not necessarily a causal link, between loot box spending and problem gambling. They also consulted experts, one being a Dr. David Zendel, I believe that's how you pronounce his name, or Zendlay. And he told the committee that either loot box spending causes problem gambling due to their similarity, or that people who have gambling problems spend heavily on loot boxes, but the connections are robust. Kind of a column A, column B in my opinion there. So yeah, I mean, what do you guys think about this? We can go, we'll go to Green Elite on this first.
All right. Sorry, I had an issue finding my unmute. Well, I don't know. Same thing as you said. Like, I'm not really the authoritarian on, legality and the gambling and stuff like that. Like, I think it definitely could be a step in the right direction. It just depends on how it actually goes. Like, will this actually change anything, or will it make any effect on the business?
Yeah. And I wonder, I mean, it could be. I'm curious to see how it's going to affect anyone other than players in the UK, because it's really easy to just block IPs from the UK. And you basically put it in a separate web page, and oh, sorry, it looks like you're in the UK. You can't access this content, and put them back to the main screen. So I don't know if it's even going to affect anyone here in the United States, but I still think it's an interesting story, especially because we're essentially an international podcast. Padre, thoughts, feelings?
You don't have to say essentially. We are an international podcast, Danny. Come on now. Now I'm kind of with you. Like, first off, everybody knows my feelings on loot boxes. I hate them. I think I despise them. I think they're gambling. Because I've seen what people with addiction issues can do when it comes to loot boxes. So I'm firmly against them, and I love to see that steps are being taken to at least try to, like, I'm in the it's ironic because I don't really like a lot of government regulation and things, but at the same time, it's not as much about regulating the community as a whole, but just not letting that kind of environment foster addictive behavior towards children in general. I would like to see something happen here. I doubt it will. There's a lot more going on that people are concerned about, and a lot of people here don't feel as strongly about loot boxes as I do. But then again, here gambling is a lot easier to do. I don't know. It's a weird concept, but I would like to see more done, like with the rating system that we had talked about, where if you're going to include loot boxes, the game's rating automatically goes up to where an adult has to purchase the game for the child. I don't know. I'm kind of like in the same realm as Green. Is it a step in the right direction? I would like to think so, but we'll see. We'll have to wait and see what happens for the rest of the world.
Yeah. Mickerayla, what are your immediate thoughts on this?
So I full disclosure here, I am definitely one of those people who has one of the reasons I don't gamble is because I have a very addictive personality and I get addicted to shit really quickly. Like, you'll notice, especially when I find a show I really like, I cling on to it and I just get like super addicted to it. And all that shit. And so like I do think it's a good idea to market those like to consider loot boxes as gambling. And like for me, for example, so I play a lot of League of Legends. And they have loot boxes. One thing I really like that League does and a lot of places will do is you can either buy a loot box or you can buy like the skin full out. So then like if you're if you I like to leave it up to chance because I like to get skins for, champs I don't necessarily play, but I still like it. So for me, it allows me to spend money to get random chance, or if I want a specific skin, I don't have to just put it up to luck. Like I can just go ahead and buy whatever I want. But I do agree. I do think it's for the games that don't allow that, like it's a good idea to put regulations on that because it does target the people who have those same issues that I do, who have a hard time saying no, don't do this, especially if it's something you really want, and with kids and all that stuff. So those are kind of my thoughts. I hope that made sense. But
No, it does, because full disclosure, something I don't talk about is I actually battled gambling addiction from the time I was 18 till about the time I was 23, and so that's why I feel so strongly about this.
mhm.
And I used to, I've actually kind of changed my opinion on one aspect. I used to say like games that had in-game loot boxes that you couldn't physically purchase, like Overwatch was always my prime example. You earn every loot box in that. It always comes with some kind of skin or something. It's
Right.
like or the in-game currency. But as far as I know, you can't just go out and buy the loot boxes on Overwatch. But at the same time, like the unhealthy amount of time that some people will put into getting those loot boxes in order to turn around and get said skin, especially if it's like a limited time thing during like one of their events, it could be incredibly dangerous in and of itself, because you'll have these young people just screwing up their entire sleep habits, because that's, I mean, it's a rated T game, as far as I remember. And so for these young kids to be binging, you know, I mean, and a lot of us did when we were younger. A lot of us stayed up all night playing video games, but there shouldn't be an incentive to do so. You know, so you have these limited run events, and you can only get these skins out of a loot box from that event. These kids are out here; they're already a high level. You only get extra loot boxes if you're leveling up after you've done your, you know, couple of weeklies. Then you got these kids spending an unhealthy amount of time on this one game trying to grind out to get this one loot box that they may or may not have what they want inside.
Yeah, and I know Overwatch, I used to play a lot of Overwatch as well.
Mhm.
And it used to be that you could buy the loot boxes themselves. They had the typical like, $5 worth, $10, 20, 50. Um and I had done that because there were some skins that I really wanted, but I just couldn't do. And the thing with that is that I've since stopped playing Overwatch, but even if you got like you would get in-game currency to make up for if you got like a duplicate for a skin you already owned, but it was not an equivalent thing. So it's like even if you got a duplicate, you still had to go through X amount of boxes, get X amount of currency, spend all this time to save up the credits to get the skin you wanted. And I agree, like if you couldn't, you know, get the skin that you wanted in the box and you were spending however much time to get those loot boxes and grind out those loot boxes. So,
Yeah, well, and another thing, I will say this to their credit. One thing that they do is every year on their anniversary event, every cosmetic becomes available. Like all special event cosmetics become available. And so, I mean, there is the idea of, okay, well, I mean, if you just play Overwatch typically and you can just kind of slowly rack up that currency, when the anniversary event comes around, you can just purchase those skins with the in-game currency, which is fine. I mean, I get that. But like there are games out there that have the same model that don't have that aspect to it. You know, they
Right.
don't have it where you can just, you know, use the in-game currency that you've earned over time to purchase whatever cosmetic you're wanting. You have to grind out the loot boxes. And so you know, to sum it all up, wrap it up in a neat little bow, F loot boxes.
Right. Yeah. And like I don't want to glorify loot boxes, but I will say, kind of bringing it back to League, because that's the example I use. Like that's just the biggest example I have. Is that like one thing I really like about what League does that I mentioned earlier was that like yeah, you can get the skins in a loot box for like a cheaper price, or you can just buy the skin right out, which I really like. So then you're not like spending all this money on random chance to maybe get the skin that you want. You can just be like, oh, I like that. Here's the money. I want that skin.
Yeah, that I think that's I think that's a fair compromise to it,
Yeah.
because I think we're in a point now where it's going to be hard for our country, I mean, at the very least, to be able to eliminate loot boxes altogether. So if organizations and companies, developers, whatever, are going to be coming forth with, you know, alternatives like that,
Mhm.
you know, Rocket League did the same thing we discussed, where while the cost of these items is exponentially larger than the loot boxes, technically there is still the point there where you can just straight up purchase these
Mhm.
items.
Yeah. And like and don't get me wrong, I don't want to like suck Riot's dick because I do have a lot of gripes with their games and with them as a company, but like I
Cool.
do think their skin, how they handle skins, because like you can buy it outright. There's also periodically throughout the year they have like a shop where you get 5 skins for like your recently played champions at a super discounted price. And like yeah, there are some skins that aren't available all the time, but like if they release a new skin for that skin line, then you can go back and purchase those. But you can still also get them like in the loot box. Not great, but like I think the way they balance their loot boxes versus like being able to just outright buy the skin for me is a really good balance, but I can also see how that could be problematic as well. So
Yeah. So I want to address something that was said in the chat. This is from Urban Decay. Hey, Decay. The practice or activity of betting, the practice of risking money or other stakes in a game or bet. And then he says loot boxes are totally gambling. And I agree with that. I agree that from a psychological perspective, loot boxes are gambling. I mean, it is money for risk or reward. Um, where a lot of the problem comes from in this discourse is the legality of you applying the term gambling to this, right? Because gambling in many jurisdictions is defined as risk reward for cash, right? The
Well,
ability
and
to
not
cash
only
out.
that, yeah, like a lot of people have a hard time classifying this as gambling generally because I don't think there's a single, at least popular loot box system out there where if you purchase the loot box, there's the possibility you literally come away with nothing, and that's always a potential in gambling.
Mhm.
Is like at it's say your casinos and whatnot. There's always the possibility of you walking away with nothing, while in loot boxes there's not. So I can understand why it's kind of hard to blur that line with actual gambling versus say betting, like but again, as somebody who battled gambling addiction, I've seen what purchasing loot boxes for something can do. And it's not pretty.
Yeah. And there's like, and I know we've debated it on the show and we've had people say it, where's the consistency in gamers where, you're not killing people in the games, but then, you're killing people in the games, but that doesn't make you go out and kill people. And then they kind of compare that to loot boxes where, you say it's gambling, but then are people actually going out and gamble? And there's like this, I think it's a bit of a dissonance there, or at least a misunderstanding of the psychological implications that it's there, and you are using your real resources for some sort of, or is a perceived reward. I think is the big difference between those two.
That is exactly the big difference in those two. And people can argue tooth and nail, but the addictive qualities of actually earning something, or the feeling of earning something through the risk versus reward system is vastly different than what you would say is a desensitization, because that's the difference in it is becoming addicted to something rather than being desensitized to it. And that's why you see people develop gambling addiction behaviors as opposed to just going out and killing people from a violent video game.
Yeah, because ultimately it's an in-game action versus a brain chemical reaction. So
exactly. That's like the difference in in your senses.
Yeah.
While you may be able to take a look at them and say, well, they're all senses, they're all vastly different in the things that they do.
Now this kind of goes back to last week and the game sustainability question that we discussed with the game deflators. With this, I mean, do you think we could see price hike? And this kind of goes into our next question or our next discussion, but I mean, do you think if the games industry has to stop using this sort of practice, do you think areas where that's going to be prohibited might see a price hike? Or do you think they're going to find another way to implement microtransactions?
I would think they would probably go more the route of take take what League's model is and just pull the loot boxes from it and just or just like I said, do what a lot of them will probably do what Rocket League did, where you can like unlock the things you need to essentially purchase these items that you want. Like you can't just go into the store and straight out buy it, but you unlock things just as you go along that are like, hey, with so many in-game credits, you can build this part, and people will spend money directly for it. I mean, I think they'll continue the microtransactions just without the random chance. Now, they might see a hit in profits because sometimes people will think, well, at the very least, try it once or twice of, well, maybe I could get this if I get this loot box, and then when they don't get it after a couple of tries, they give up. Some people are going to be like that. But in the end, I think if you just price hike your microtransactions, if you put out premium, cosmetics or whatever, people are still going to buy them. I mean, look at Fortnite. How many people buy the crap out of Fortnite stuff just because it's premium content? So, I mean, it's the same concept, I think, just minus the loot boxes.
Yeah. And your example reminds me of Star Wars Battlefront 2 when it was like, yeah, you could totally, if you grind those hours, you can totally play Darth Vader, but it's like an absurd amount of hours.
Yeah, like an unrealistic amount of hours. Yeah, like that. I think a lot of companies will find a happy medium where people will still purchase stuff enough to balance out the not purchasing of loot boxes.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is what Bungie did too with Destiny 2. Is they preemptively took away their version of boxes, which is it's ever grams, and now they just directly sell the cosmetics and armor sets and stuff directly through the Eververse instead of using that chance with the.
Yeah, and people still buy it.
Yeah.
You know, people still buy them, and so that's the point that I think is being made
Absolutely.
here. And I mean, heck, honestly, when you think about it from a game developer perspective, you would think maybe, okay, well, at least this way, I can have a consistent idea. Like I can have an idea of what my cosmetics can bring in. Maybe, I mean, obviously not 100% accurate, but there's like the ballpark. You could be like, well, last cycle when we released this cosmetic, we made X amount of dollars on sales on those alone. If we release something of equal or greater or equal quality, then we can possibly expect those same sales this time around. And if they don't, they're like, well, crap. Well, we've just made a really bad cosmetic then. It just sucked because nobody plays Junkrat.
Yeah. I had one other question, which is, what do you think the long-term implications are going to be for the games companies worldwide? Do you think they are going to kind of go the route that I mentioned earlier, where they're just going to block off the loot box functions to people in the UK, or do you think they're going to restructure everything for the internet for worldwide? We'll go green first.
They probably initially would get from the UK, and then honestly, I don't think it would unless actually got behind them. And I honestly,
you kind of came in and out there a little bit. Can you go get ahead and say that again?
I said it really just depends on if the whole world actually like backs it, and follows suit, which I honestly I don't see it happening.
All right, Mickerayla, what do you think? What do you think is gonna be the long-term implications here?
Personally, I think I think that they'll just restructure, because I don't think it would be a smart move to just block IPs and block certain aspects of a game from an entire country. I think, granted, I don't know like how big of a gaming chunk comes from the UK, but I think that could ultimately, from a business standpoint, I think it might ultimately hurt them if they just block off a specific feature, than if they just restructured everything. Because especially, it would also put them in a bind if if other parts of the world followed suit. So
Yeah, and we know Belgium is pretty close or has done something very similar, which that would have implications for the entire EU, I think. Padre, what do you think?
All right, actually, so to her point, about how much revenue is driven from the United Kingdom. So because that's who this is based out of, right? Is the United Kingdom? They have the 6th highest revenue dollars spent on video games. So I mean, granted, the United States and China and Japan outweigh that number by a lot in those three. But when you're taking one of your top 10 countries in revenue spent on games out of the equation because of loot boxes, it would make more sense to go ahead and just restructure than it would be to block off that country's ability to purchase loot boxes. Because you may even look at it from like a psychological standpoint, in the sense that this, the people from this country are going to have restricted access to certain features of games. If they're going to block those things off, what may end up happening is they may just not want to buy the game because they have that entire thing blocked off from them, and that could damage revenue a lot worse when you have, again, the 6th highest revenue of any country in the world in gaming. This, of course, is brought to you by Newzoo. Don't know what year this was published, but that's where I got my sources, because I'm not gonna. Okay, this was a 2020 games market report, so I wanted to make sure I got the source out there. I didn't want to just like sound like I'm spewing out my butt, but yeah, I mean, then you got just above them are Germany, South Korea, Japan, us, and China. So again, you take out the sixth highest revenue, or take out features for the sixth highest revenue generating country in gaming, you're probably going to see a lot more harm come than if you were just to go ahead and restructure now, because you are going to see other countries follow suit. I believe, especially if there's some studies backing these claims. Like if they can produce some scientific and psychological studies to back them to these other countries that supposedly care about their citizens, boom, you get more countries wanting to jump on board with this.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know what I think was really necessarily going to happen. I'm kind of leaning on it might be one of those things where they just kind of they offer like a new store, or they kind of block certain functions from the UK for a while. Because there's a lot of time and research and development that goes into the loot box systems. It would be kind of a waste for them to not use those in countries where it is legal. So, and if it does become a regulation, and they just kind of, all they have to do is tack on a day one patch that has a new page that says, "Hey, buy your cosmetics here," and then either removes the loot box side of it all, for people in the UK. That's what I think is going to happen, especially for games that are very close to coming out. The the yearly FIFA, the yearly NBA 2K, the Maddens, the NHL games, all the other games that are kind of yearly, the Call of Duties and whatever else. I think that's kind of what's going to happen. Any other thoughts, opinions, or questions that we wanted to pose here on this loot box news story?
Nope.
All right. Well, I kind of mentioned something, and this kind of goes along with the question that we talked about last week, and that is potential for game price hikes. So currently, most AAA games come in, retail for about $60 USD. That's not counting the special editions or the collector's editions. That's just kind of your base no frills edition. But there is a game that will be having a price hike this coming season, and that will be NBA 2K21. So the current gen release date is September 4th, and that's going to be for PS4, Xbox One, PC, Switch, and Stadia, and that's going to cost $60 American. Later in the year, there's going to be another release for next-gen consoles, being the PS5 and the Xbox Series X, and that's going to cost $70 American. Players who want to get access on their current hardware and their future hardware have the option to purchase the $100 Mamba Forever Edition, which is a tribute to the late Kobe Bryant, which will give them access on current consoles and next-gen consoles. My source on this is Polygon, and they got a quote from a spokesperson saying, quote, "We believe our suggested retail price for NBA 2K21 on next generation platforms fairly represents the value of what's being offered. Power, speed, and technology that is only possible on new hardware. While we are confident that NBA 2K21 will be a monumental leap forward for the franchise and a standout visual showcase on next generation consoles, we recognize that it's our responsibility to prove this value to our fans and NBA 2K players. We're looking forward to doing so and can't wait to show more in the upcoming months to launch." So that's the information. We're going to go to Padre. How are you feeling about this?
I think we all kind of saw it coming. I mean, with the accelerated hardware, everything else, it's not a surprise. Like, it could be worse. $10 is, I mean, it is what it is. I hope, I was hoping personally we would see a similar price on base releases, and then just see the erase physical editions of base releases and just go digital with those, which I know is hard for some people because some people just don't have the ability to they don't have the internet capabilities. Like they can install them from the disc, but they just don't have the internet capabilities. That is, I mean, it's changing. So I was kind of hoping to see base editions of things go non-physical, just go purely digital and keep the same price frame, because when you eliminate that, $6 to $7 per game it costs to produce a physical game, it kind of helps you keep the cost down. But I mean, like I said, it could be worse. It sucks because, I mean, especially whenever it's one of those games that doesn't really seem to change that much. Now, granted, if the game comes out and you can see this, I mean, just an absolute massive difference between the current gen and the next gen versions, then it kind of becomes a little bit more understandable. Well, that remains to be seen, but I think it'll be a good what was it, a litmus test for this particular thing, because of the fact that it's a game, one of the few games, most sports games actually, that have been criticized for just reskinning the same game. Nothing's really changing. So if we can see side by side comparisons of the current next gen, and there is a significant difference in these two, or this game in particular, then I think, I mean, maybe the extra $10 is worth it. I don't pay full price for AAA games anyway, so it's a little, I guess my opinion's a little moot. But at the same time, I think that I think that there's a possibility of justification based on performance of the game itself.
Yeah. And you mentioned, how the games never really change year to year. They even found, like, in last year's version, old 2K19 banners. Like in the NBA 2K 2020, there was background stuff that still said NBA 2K 2019.
Yeah, and it's the same. Like, and what's even worse is the fact that it's not even, whenever you look at the sports games, 2K is not an EA Sports game. 2K Sports is not the same thing. So to see it being done both in, like, say, Madden and NBA 2K is sad, because it's showing that, one, they're exploiting people's love for sports to, basically sell them the same game, just with a slight reskinning of certain things, a few roster trades and stat changes that could have easily been done with just an update. But at the same time, it's one of those things that's kind of become rampant in the sports world. So I think this is going to be like the one that we can really gauge. Is the $10 really worth the extra? But it's going to be one of those, you can't really say yes or no until you see the difference in the two.
Mm-hmm. Mickerayla, you're going to say something there.
No, I used to work at GameStop, and it was just incredible the amount of people that would line up for not even necessarily a reskin of the same game previously. So it's just, I don't understand sports games myself.
Yeah,
that's just me.
Well, like one of the big parts of it is like the because there's an esports aspect to it. Like the whole, basically, be a football star when you were trash at football, i.e. myself. And so, like, I don't understand, like, I've got to get it now. I don't understand that, like, the lining up out the door for it. But I mean, I always, used to, back when we were still seeing, kind of like significant leaps year to year in graphics. I was buying Madden every year, but I stopped in, I think it was like 2017 was the last one I ever purchased, because they just kept reskinning the same game, and I just couldn't see myself paying that much for the same game every year. I mean, they would add maybe like a couple of new animations for like hit stick performances on tackles and stuff, but aside from that, it was just roster changes and stat upgrades, and that was it. And I'm worried that we're going to see too much of the same, because it's been a tried and true process so far. I mean, why fix something that ain't broke?
Yeah,
from their perspective, like from a money making perspective.
Mm-hmm. Green, what are your thoughts?
I think that games like 2K and Madden are absolute cash gimmicks. Like, as I said, it's essentially the same game every year that you're just paying. You're paying full AAA prices for, and they don't change anything. Like, I could see price increases on like these other like single player AAA titles like Last of Us or Rise of the Tomb Raider, stuff like that. But like when it comes to sports games, I can't get behind increasing the price for, especially when they're the same damn game every year. Like, it takes a lot of money nowadays to develop these games, which like we just covered last week. Like they're putting a lot of money into it, which I mean, price increase is inevitable because they're funneling so much money into it. But is like EA putting more money into Madden every year, or is like 2K Sports actually doing anything to earn that extra money? I don't think so. Like,
Yeah.
we have to draw a line there.
Yeah.
Like
That's
if you're
why-
gonna
Well,
if
and
you're
I
gonna
would-
charge more for a game that you're releasing yearly, you better be putting some actual fucking work into it.
That's why I was saying the point remains to be seen, because we don't know what the side by side what the PS5 or Xbox Series X versions of this game are going to look like compared to the current gen, which is like that's the only reason I'm kind of reserving, because I don't care for sports games anymore either. But like at the same time, like trying to see it from like an unbiased standpoint on it, as somebody who has been witness to this year after year, and like actually saw my entire gaming experience change because of it. If you see a significant difference, like I mean, even if it's something like, because one of the things that plagued sports games for a long time, in my opinion, was load times. And I don't know why load times were always so difficult. I don't know if it had to do with like crowd rendering or what, but load times have always been like notorious, especially in NBA 2K. Like they do the little pregame thing like you would see on TNT with Shaq and Kenny and all of them, and then you couldn't skip it because it was like constantly loading. And so you'd have to sit there through this like pregame thing while the game loaded. And if like that's something that goes by the wayside, and the graphics are a lot more fluid, because that's another other mechanics were they're kind of clunky for 2K games, and they have been for a while. If those are more fluid, then to somebody who is a sports games fan, it's going to be justified. Is it justified to me personally? Regardless of how, hell, it wouldn't be justified to me if they reduced the price, because I just don't play them. And plus, I won't have those next gen consoles. But regardless, I think it's going to be one of those like we're gonna have to wait and see.
yeah, can I posit some ideas here real quick?
Mhm.
It's really interesting to me that NBA 2K is the first one to do this for a few reasons. The first one being the amount of microtransaction the game has, which they always say that the justification for by the industry for microtransactions, for loot boxes and whatever else, is to subsidize the development cost of the game so they can stay at $60, so that some people will pay more to essentially subsidize the cost. So if we have these microtransactions, are you not subsidizing the cost for the development even for a new one? That's question number one that I want really answered by the industry. Question number two is sports games have product placement. They have product placement for Ford. They have product placement for Nike. They have product placement for Gatorade. The product placement, you don't put a product in your game or in your movie for that matter for free. There's usually some sort of production cost covered by said product placement. 3. We talked about this on the show a little while ago. NBA 2K started for online matches, like in your load screens, they started putting advertisements. Right? People reported seeing advertisements for an FX TV show on their load screens for NBA 2K. So, with these three things covered or just entered in here, why do we have to jack up the price for a game on a next-gen console? Aren't your development costs already being covered by these other monetization practices? Aren't they being covered by your microtransactions in your loot boxes? Aren't they being covered by your product placement? And are they being covered by your additional advertising that you're selling in a game that people have already paid for? I don't know how long if they even kept doing the advertising thing, because they got a lot of backlash, and rightfully so. But these are all things in my mind that I'm looking at, and I'm like, why are you jacking up a price on a game when we already have when you're already subsidizing all your production costs here? That's something that kind of boggled my mind. And NBA 2K is the is a prime example of this. So I find it really interesting that they were the first ones to jack up the price for next gen consoles.
We also don't know what other games are going to go for yet either. Like that's another. I mean, I would hope that that they don't go higher, but and I'm just playing devil's advocate here. Like I said, I really don't even care about sports games, but like maybe those other things have been pulled, and that's why they're having to jack up. Like maybe because they have been facing criticism for a lot of these things for years, and so they may have had to have pulled like the allowing or like the advertising during load screens, and maybe they had some marketing product issues come through or something that kind of took that cost out. I mean, once again, devil's advocate. I don't know. Honestly, really don't care. Just trying to show both sides of it. And
Yeah.
And again, I mean, who knows? Maybe whenever we get these other titles come forward, they're going to be going for 80 or 90, and then that'll entice people to buy all the special editions because they're not going to be that much more. Hopefully,
For me, I guess like I don't buy, with the exception of like series that I follow very closely. Like for example, Kingdom Hearts. I'm a big fan of Kingdom Hearts, so like for those games, I'm probably gonna buy it day one, regardless of how much it costs, just because I love the series. But like I don't buy new games because I can barely afford the $60 price. And a lot of times I don't feel like there's enough content to warrant that $60 price in most games. And so for them to hike up that price, um there had better be more content. There was a YouTube channel that I used to watch, Funhouse. I used to watch Funhouse, and they had a show that was called $1 1 hour, and they kind of joked about it, but the guy whose idea it was actually had a good point. Like for every dollar that the game costs, I should have 1 hour of content, like equivalent. So if it's a $60 game, I'd better have like $60 worth of content. And the fact that they're hiking up the price when, you know, 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, there was, if even that, there was a conversation about whether or not AAA games are too long. And I'm sitting here like, if I'm paying $60 for a brand new game, there had better be a ton of content there for me, like, to play. Otherwise, this price just isn't worth it. So that price hike definitely makes me nervous because already I don't know, like, I could barely afford a new game, but yeah,
what if? I mean, is it possible that this is even like a ploy put out, like an agreement put out amongst the actual console makers to have extra charges put in place to help rebound the losing money issue? Because we've discussed that how these consoles are actually supposedly going to be losing money at first. So what if it's something actually that they're putting forward? Because I mean, for all we know, whenever they introduce the same game to Steam, it may be the same $60 instead of 70. This could, I
Right.
mean, it could conceivably
For PC, it will be $60. Now, it probably won't. I don't know if 2K releases to Steam or not, or if they do it through one of their own proprietary launchers. But it will be $60 for Steam, or not for Steam, for PC.
Right.
see,
So
and
that
that like,
brings-
go ahead.
I was gonna say that brings up an excellent point. Like, now is it the game companies that want to raise their price, or is it the console companies that are like, no, you need to start doing like charging more for your games, especially if like the Steam versions are going to be cheaper.
Mm-hmm. Now, someone posed an interesting thought in the chat. This is our buddy Fan. Hi, Fan. You guys can go check out our previous episodes with him. He says, for us as the end consumer, it's not really $10 we need to consider. It's $70 base price plus the money for the console, which is, I think, a very valid point because we're looking at consoles that are going to range anywhere between $400 and possibly $600. And that's going to be another $70 on top of that. And that's I mean, we're just talking American. I know Lou is in the chat and he was talking, that's the base price is going to be somewhere like 85 in the neighborhood of $85 Canadian. So we're just talking American here, but yeah, I mean, what do you guys think? I mean, would you how does that factor into your buying decision, do you think? If it's and let's just take this away from like sports games, because I've never cared for sports games. I could really give a shit less. But let's just take it to another, yearly game that comes out, a Call of Duty, well, I guess Battlefield isn't yearly anymore, but yeah. So Call of Duty, Call of Duty comes out and it's going to be $7 on a console that's already $500. What do you guys think?
Well, for me, it's interesting. So, kind of a little bit of background for where I'm coming. I mostly game on PC. And this might just be, I don't know if where I'm going with this will honestly answer your question, but I do think it's another thing to think about. So I built my PC in like late 2015, early 2016. I don't particularly remember. And when I built it, it was a $1,200 PC, and it could play top of the line games, and I could stream those games like super high quality. Everything was great and no problems. But I'm getting to the point where the requirements for the games are more than what my computer can handle and stream all at once. Um, and it's all I'm almost hesitant to say that it's probably better buck for your bargain, even though those games are going to be more expensive on the console. Like if you have to have a super strong computer to play a $60 game, like a computer that it could be, you might have to buy like a $500 graphics card just to play a game. So part of me wonders if in the end it's better. Yeah, you're paying $600 for a brand new game console, but if that hardware is better than a computer for the same price, is that a good trade-off? You know?
Actually, so our friend Viva Pinata sat down and actually did some price comparing of equal performing hardware pieces
Mhm,
out of the specs that were provided for the PS5.
mhm,
And if you're not sticking with PC gaming, you're going to get a lot more bang for your buck buying a console this time around. As of right now, now PCs typically catch up, is what is the trend that he was telling me. Is PCs catch up rather quickly in performance, but at first, almost every time the consoles release, if they have something new that's proprietary, you're going to get a pretty significant amount of
mhm.
increase in performance. Um, do we even have an official price point for the PS5 or the Xbox Series X yet?
I think they've been playing chicken. I know we've talked about price points before, but I don't remember if we've gotten anything.
Yeah,
Um,
I was looking, I couldn't find anything because I was wondering if another thing that could factor into what we were talking about earlier with is the system makers at play here. If they're going to sell the console for the same price or not much more than the previous console, then it becomes a little more convoluted because obviously it's going to out. I mean, I know it's a little bit different with it being this far down the road compared to what things cost back then, yada yada yada. But if you're upgrading that much in your system for the same price that you paid for the previous system, then they are going to have to eat or have to make up costs somewhere as
mhm,
console makers.
Mhm.
yeah. So
Um,
real quick, for the PS5, Tech Radar says Sony hasn't revealed the PS5 price yet, but analyst predictions have placed the PS5 price in the region of $499, £499, or $749 Australian.
okay, so that's $100 more than PS4 was at launch. So
Right.
that's pretty significant. Um, Now, again, versus actual, a comparison to actual hardware upgrades, is that $100 going to make up that much? Or are they still going to be losing a significant amount of money? Um, because I know that was one of the talks was that these new consoles in a basically a price war are going to end up actually losing money at first, and they were going to make it up on peripherals and stuff like that. I believe was talked about, but again, I don't know. It's going to have to be, to me, you're going to have to see an actual significant increase in the gameplay mechanics. And this is with any game, not just an NBA game or with the Call of Duty or something. You're going to have to see a lot smoother graphics, faster rendering, no load times. You're going to have to do a lot just to make it worth actually spending that much on a console and
Mhm.
that much on a game as well.
Yeah. Um, Man, I feel like this is a conversation we can get really in the weeds on. Um, So I'm
it's
gonna.
hard. It's hard to have that conversation and be able to have a definitive answer to it when
Yeah.
we still have so many unknowns. I
Oh,
think
yeah.
it's a
Right.
conversation that if we revisit later in a few months, then we'll have a lot more, solid concrete evidence to back any claims or whatever, and we will be able to see transparently what is going on and be able to talk about it a lot
Mhm.
smoother.
Yeah. So with that, any other final thoughts that we want to get out there, Mr. Greenlee? Any final thoughts, opinions, questions?
I'm gonna say no, just because I could go on this for like 10 hours.
Yeah.
So I've said my piece.
Mickerayla, thoughts, opinions?
No, I do want to reiterate. I do think that the price hike was inevitable, whether it's due to corporate greed or hardware enhancements, or even just simple inflation in the economy. I do agree that this was definitely inevitable, and while I don't like to see it, at least it's not as bad as it could be.
Valid. Padre?
No, I'm kind of in the same boat as Mickerayla. It was inevitable. Could have been a lot worse, and there's still a lot that remains to be seen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I have a lot of my final thing. You said it. I even have it in my notes here. We really don't know what the improvements are going to be. I still have just so many questions, and that includes, what happened to your other production subsidizations that you were doing for years and years, and why are those suddenly not enough? But I think we can move on to the last thing we're going to talk about, which it being the first show of the month. It's deals of the month time, guys. I've got everything ready here. Do we want to start? I can start with Twitch Prime.
Sure.
Get it.
All right, so for Twitch Prime this month, you can get Melbits available until July 31st. Kunai available until August 3rd. Dear Esther, which is a walking simulator, is available until August 3rd. Dark Devotion is available until August 3rd. Turok 2, Seeds of Evil that will be available until August 3rd. Rias will be available until July 24th. And Grip Combat Racing is going to be available until August 3rd. That's for Twitch Prime, which, of course, if you guys have Twitch Prime, you also get a free sub to a channel of your choice. So go on ahead, head on over to Mickerayla or Mr. Greenlee's channel or RevSven's channel and give them that Twitch sub. And then Epic Games available until July 9th. So we're recording this on July 7th. You have until July 9th to pick this up. Hue, which is an indie game, a color puzzle game, I believe. Starting July 9th and through July 16th, you have available to you Killing Floor 2, Lifeless Planet, and The Escapist 2. Which, Killing Floor 2, probably worth picking up for free. I have a hard time recommending Killing Floor 2 because I picked it up on early access back in like 2015, and the game has basically not changed since 2016, maybe 2017. Like, there's still only 3 bosses and only a few classes, and it just, yeah, they add new maps, but it's like, okay, new maps, but I'm fighting the same fucking thing with the same stuff. Well, it's, big whoop. So I have a hard time even justifying Killing Floor 2 on sale, so pick it up if you're interested for free. And then also for free on Epic Games, you can find Sludge Life and Dolores, a Thimbleweed Park mini adventure. Those were just on the Epic Games Store for free right now. Xbox One, the Games Pass. Padre.
All right, so we have 4 new games with gold this month that have a retail value of $94.96, which I could not disagree with more. You get such riveting titles as WRC 8, the official game, which is a racing game that is typically $50. You get Dunk Lords. I'm very positive that's a Z at the end. It's hard to tell with that font. You also get Xbox 360 classics such as Saints Row 2 and Juju, which looks like a kid's game. But Then you also get 3 new games
Wait,
coming to.
was
What?
it like Tak and the Power of Juju?
It's just called Juju, but it has a similar anime aesthetic or animated aesthetic as Tak. It's like that same kind of kiddish looking animation, but it's just called Juju. It's got like a snake and a bunny. It looks like. I have not heard of 3 of these games, and the only reason I know Saint Rose 2 is because of the big purple thing that you get to use as a weapon. But we get 3 other games actually coming to Game Pass in July, which 2 of them won't be out until the 9th. But right now you do have Soul Calibur 6, which is a good pickup if you have Game Pass. And then you also get Crosscode, and get ready for this one. You're going to drop your jaws. Fallout 76. He said with heavy sarcasm. And so
Oh boy.
yeah, get excited, boys. But that's all we really got coming this month for Xbox. I feel like some companies are reeling it back, just kind of anticipating the next gen consoles, because it feels like we've kind of hit a few months worth of duds on the Xbox recently.
Yeah. Yeah, nothing there excited me unless like you really wanted to play Saints Row, the series Saints Row from, start to finish. There's like
Yeah. And like I said, I mean, Soul Calibur 6, that's not a bad one, but if you're already paying for Game Pass, if you already got Game Pass going, that's a good one. But on top of that, you do actually have Dead Rising 4, Metal Gear Solid 5, and Blazing Chrome all leaving Xbox Game Pass. So if you do have those, if you want to keep them, you're going to have to do the little like buy it at a discounted rate thing. I myself am a fighting game fan, and so Soul Calibur 6, I'm like, all right, cool. I mean, like nothing. I'm just like, oh my god, yes, but it's something.
Yeah. Green, do you have the Sony PlayStation Now?
Absolutely. Sony is celebrating their 10-year anniversary of PlayStation Plus right now. So they splurged on some bigger titles. Ironically, the first one is NBA 2K20. You guys can get that on free on PlayStation Plus user. They also have the Rise of the Tomb Raider, which is a pretty popular game. It just came out, I think, last year, if I remember correctly. And then they have another one as well, a third title called Erica, which is an FMV murder mystery game, which actually looks pretty neat. It says Erica is an intriguing and admirable experience for those looking for a little outside of the video game. So that one's definitely something that actually has piqued my interest. So
yeah, Rise of the Tomb Raider came out in 2015.
2015? Are you sure?
Mm-hmm.
Wasn't there another Tomb Raider that just came out that everyone uses as like a benchmark game?
Let me check. Tomb Raider games. Shadow of the Tomb Raider came out in 2018.
Okay. All right. Well, this one's Rise of the Tomb Raider, so.
It does have very good ratings, though. So.
Yeah.
Was that it for PlayStation Now?
Yes, sir.
Or PlayStation Plus? What is it? PlayStation Plus?
PlayStation Plus.
Okay.
Now is I think no, that's View. Never mind. Okay. Now is the service where you can play it's like streaming games. Like old games they'll have on there that you can go on and essentially download and stream from another system. And I always get it confused with PlayStation View, which was their attempt to do cable TV, but that died.
Yeah. I checked for the Switch. There's no like deals or anything like that coming to the Switch. It doesn't seem like, at least not that I can find easily. Any other deals? Anything else that we need to talk about in terms of like things people could pick up? Obviously, the Steam Summer Sale is still going on. We gave our suggestions last week. Maybe Mickerayla. Any suggestions for people who should pick up Steam Summer Sale?
I picked up a game called Green Hell. If you liked games like The Forest, it's very similar to that gameplay wise. So it's like the premise is your wife is, I can't remember the official name for it, but she is making contact with one of the tribes on an island, just to kind of establish relations, learn about their culture and all that stuff. And then something goes terribly wrong. I don't know what it is yet. But you are the husband and you're trying to survive as she's trying to also help you get out of that situation. It's really cool. I really like it because it has a mechanic that like there are consequences to like if you fall asleep in the mud. Like so if you fall asleep in the mud versus in like a leaf pad type thing, you get worms. And so you have to like make bone needles and dig them out and then bandage yourself up. And you can get, if you walk in water, you get leeches. And then there's like you have to make sure if you're drinking water, you drink clean water versus there's unsafe water and there's also dirty water. And then you also have to track out your different macros. So you have to make sure that you're eating the right amount of fats and proteins and carbohydrates. And then you also have to make sure that you have enough you're hydrated, and it's just really cool. It's really intuitive. It's a little more than your basic survival game, but it's still cool. There's still some crafting, and I really like it. So
The
that's what I
worms and the
recommend.
leech thing makes me cringe and
It's
bleh.
it's not that bad. Like you have to like look at yourself and like you look at an arm and then there's a leech and you just like click on it and it goes away and then like and it's kind of satisfying to like look at your arm, see 5 leeches, and then just go boop 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 boop, and then you like hear a sigh of relief as your character's like, "Yes, I feel better now." But it's
It
nothing
strikes
super
me. I
graphic.
was gonna say that almost strikes me as like for the kind of people who watch Dr. Pimple Popper on YouTube.
A little bit, yeah, but it's really cool. I like it a lot.
Any other
There's
suggestions?
multiplayer.
Any other suggestions for the Steam Summer Sale from you?
No, not for me.
Okay, guys. Well, I think that's going to wrap up the show. So let's go on ahead and Mickerayla, why don't you go on ahead and plug yourself again? Tell anyone
Okay.
who might have missed the top of the show who you are, what you do, where people can find it, and all the services you offer.
Right, so my name is Mickerayla. You can find me at twitch.tv/Mickerayla or on almost any social media platform, Twitter, Instagram, mainly, at under the same thing, Mickerayla. That's spelled Mickerayla. It's also on the screen. I see it right now. But yeah, I am a variety streamer. I'm making my way through Bloodborne right now. I'm having a blast with it, although it's extraordinarily tilting. But if you don't really want to watch me stream, if you have any video needs that you need done, any video editing, any motion graphics, any still graphics, any animation, anything like that, hit me up. I would be more than happy to do it for you. Or even act as a consultant if you just want to bounce ideas off. I'm okay with that too. Hit me up. Literally anywhere.
Excellent. Mr. Green Elite, what's coming to your channel?
I don't know this week. I got a really busy week ahead of me. I'm trying to delve more, back into Destiny 2. So I won't be on Wednesday or Friday. Hopefully I will be back Saturday, but that is a big maybe. But next week, I'll definitely be diving into Destiny 2. I'm still gonna try to pump out a healthy content of Call of Duty Warzone. But yeah, you can catch me on Twitch, twitch.tv/Mr. Green Elite. Also on my socials, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, OnlyFans, all the good stuff.
All right. And Padre, what do you got coming up on your channel?
Well, assuming they fix my internet tomorrow, Thursday I'm going to be playing Nico Ghost Jump. I got early access beta to that. It typical for the stuff I play, just kind of like an indie little cutesy game. But then Saturday I'm bringing back Disco Dick, the sex and love advice character. So if you would like to jump in and get your calls answered for some sex and love advice by the granddaddy of them all, Disco Dick, join me Saturday at 7 p.m. Central at twitch.tv/RevSven, RevSven, or you can find me on any social media platform at RevSven TV.
Excellent. And this is the final reminder. If you guys are interested in winning a game here in the live stream, go on ahead and do !Swiggity to get entered to win a free copy of Brutal Legends. If you guys are wanting to win a copy of a game on YouTube, go on ahead and answer the question, what is a type of game you wish you could get into? And we're going to draw the winner here right after I plug myself, which is my week here is going to be kind of weird. I think Fallout Friday is going to Fallout Friday is probably going to get moved ahead a day. I'm not sure if I'll be streaming tomorrow or not. Otherwise, I might stream extra on the weekend. I'm not sure. We were kind of talking about doing a next to nothing night next week if everything goes well. We're going to keep that a secret. That'll be Monday night. We're going to play a game together, hopefully. Other than that, I have things for YouTube that I need to do. Oh, I forgot to mention. We will be making an appearance Saturday on the W2 report on Sanji Homura's YouTube channel. So make sure you guys follow me on Twitter. I'll post out those links when we go live. So make sure you guys follow me on that, and I will provide links next week after the show goes up. And I will also be doing an industry interview with a Lord Croco Squirrel over on his YouTube channel as well. Or Croco Squirrel. Croco Squirrel is how you pronounce that. So let's go on ahead. Let's draw our winner for the live stream contest. And drum roll. Congratulations, Shiny Water Lily, for winning the giveaway. We will get in contact with you on how to get that game copy. Other than that, guys, we hope you enjoyed the show. We appreciate all of you guys for watching and listening and spending time with us. We hope that we provide you guys with the content and the knowledge that you expect from us. Before we go, I wanted to give another shout out to our guy, Lou Merck. He's the gentleman who produces the beats for the show that you guys hear at the intro and during the ad break. Check him out in the links now in chat or in the description of this episode. If you guys like what we do and want to help support the show, the number one way to do that is by telling your friends about us. You can also give us a rating and review on the podcast platform of your choice. If you guys are joining us live and missed any part of the show, you can find us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and everywhere podcasts are found. And of course, you guys are finding us on those platforms. You can join us live every Tuesday night on Twitch at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. Have a wonderful rest of your evening, and we will talk to you guys next week. Goodbye!
I love you.